Welcome back to another NBA sesh. What happened? What's going on with Jimmy Butler? Did you see his new look?
Yeah, he's just clowning around. He's being he's just being a clown.
So this was just a joke. He didn't go crazy for losing in the finals.
Nah, last year he had the long dreads, which I think everyone took more seriously. This time he's just being an emu. But yeah, I think that he's losing it.
He is losing it, or he was just trolling the
He's
media.
trolling. He's trolling.
So he's not losing it then.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like a. I don't think it was funny though.
It was really weird.
Yeah.
It just
I
was.
wonder what the NBA thinks about it.
Well, what's the NBA gonna say? What can the NBA say? They can't say anything.
They have like a certain type of dress code and things like that.
Nah, I don't think they could say anything. But I'll tell you this. Jimmy Butler is probably acting out because he realizes not only did they lose in the finals, they lost out on Damion Lillard.
Yes.
Okay. The Heat are done. They lost like three key players. They got to, you know what? I'm not surprised if in the middle of the season they just blow the team up.
I don't know about the middle of the season, but I think that they're going to give it one last shot because you never know what could happen during the season. And I think by this next offseason, I think it's over because Jimmy Butler is getting older. Plus, if you remember last season, they were getting spanked during the season. They just kind of caught fire and they were just playing like exceptionally well, and they just powered through in the playoffs. But that might not happen again.
Well, yeah, like I said, they lost three key players, and sometimes just one player is a do or die for a team. In the East, it's going to be the Bucks with this amazing trade that they pulled off. That came out of nowhere. Props to the Milwaukee Bucks. They gave up one draft pick, I think, only.
They gave up their own, and they had a Warriors draft pick that they gave up that was protected like top 3 maybe or top 4. I'm not sure, but
Okay,
it's
so
like in 2028 and 2029 or something like that.
it just feels like they didn't really give up much, and of course they lost some defense with Drew Holiday.
Well, yeah. Before you say they didn't give up much, Drew Holiday that was a big piece for them.
Okay, but they still needed to upgrade. They upgraded. They got Dame Lillard. In my opinion, that's an upgrade. Dame Lillard's a superstar. Drew Holiday is a great player. He's not a superstar.
You're right.
However, with that being said, I heard that Milwaukee is now the favorite to win it all. They're not winning it all. They are not beating the Denver Nuggets. There's no way.
You think
There's
so?
no way. LeBron James's revamped Lakers got swept by the Denver Nuggets. I think the Bucks will get 1 game, 2 games in. There's no way they're going to beat Denver in the 7-game series.
It's a pretty hot take.
However, the Denver Nuggets did lose a piece. Will Barton. Did I say his name right?
No, you're thinking Will Barton left before, but you're thinking about
Who left in free agency for Denver? He went to Indiana, I think, for a big contract.
Yeah, name just slipped my mind. But I think everyone's gonna know who we're talking about when this is.
Hold on, man. Let me Google this. Now it's driving me crazy.
He was a good X factor, but I think he only had that success just because of the great team
Denver
around him.
For Indiana. Bruce Brown. Why did I say Will Barton?
I want to say like Maurice. I don't know why.
Bruce Brown. So listen, that one piece that could make or break a team. The chemistry, doing the dirty work, you never know. But
I think it's next man up for the Nuggets. Whoever's gonna step into that role. I'm forgetting if they signed anyone in free agency, but I think that they're gonna be okay.
They'll be okay, but again, the Boston Celtics, the 2008 championship, right, with Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Rondo, Doc Rivers as coach, they lost that one guy,
James Posey.
James Posey, and that's it. They didn't go to the finals the next season after that. Then they made a comeback to the finals a season after that, but they lost to Kobe's Lakers. So I'm telling you, it's always that one piece. You never know. I think Denver will be okay, considering the fact that Milwaukee sacrificed defense to get a superstar. But we'll see what happens. Speaking of, I'm sorry, did you want to say anything else before I move on? Because I was going to talk about Drew Holiday, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they sacrificed defense for a supercharged offense and a guy who will bring more opportunity for other players to score because he's just so lethal from, beyond the 3-point. He could break down defense. He's still a great point guard. And Drew Holiday wasn't that scorer. Like, he really played really well, but to assume that he could repeat that performance in this next season's playoffs is a hard thing to do, especially because what's his name? The shooting guard they have, Middleton.
No, he's a small forward.
Small forward, but Middleton went down, so you never know how he might be performing.
True. Middleton not being there, I'm sure, has some kind of... But there was just something magical about the Miami Heat that season.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to get in their way in the East. And Milwaukee, again, they did the right thing, upgrading, because as great as Drew Holiday is, he's getting older, and he couldn't come through for them in the playoffs last season. Yes, Middleton was down, but you don't want to take a chance by saying, okay, now we have Middleton back. Miami is weaker this year, but you just don't want to take that chance. If you have the opportunity to get Dame Lillard, you get Dame Lillard.
Well, do you think that Harden might be going to Miami possibly, since they lost out on Lillard?
You know what? I think that's not a bad idea. And I think I said this in the previous podcast. I'll say it again. I don't know what James Harden's problem is. It feels like he's running away from his problems. Like, he just lost it. I think he's freaking out because he knows he's not the man anymore. And now he's just running away from all his problems. Like, what's the problem? You left Brooklyn, fine, I get it. You, Kyrie Irving, this, that, I understand. You go play with Joel Embiid, a superstar. No, now you want to leave after what, one season, was it? Or 1.5 seasons?
Yeah, and he didn't really have a solid playoff performance. Like, he wasn't consistent. But to his credit, maybe there was some sort of a under the table deal that Daryl Morey promised them, and he obviously didn't deliver.
Like what?
To give him a long-term big contract, but Daryl Morey saw like he didn't perform well. So like we mentioned last podcast, it's better to break that word than to deliver on the promise and possibly end up losing his own job because he just is on the decline.
Yeah. Well, I think Miami would be a great destination for James Harden. James Harden is still good enough to help a good team.
Yeah, I think they're missing that. They're missing that scoring, and Tyler Hero will help, but I think the verdict is still out on him if he's gonna really be good or consistent. Jimmy Butler turns it up, but he's not like that scorer. They really do need that score, and I think James Harden might be that fit, but they have to do something because I think that if not this season, I think they're gonna break it up. Because Jimmy Butler's like, what, 33 already?
Is he? That's it? He's still fairly young. I thought he was older.
He might be 33 or 34, but he's up there.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Drew Holiday, I love the fact that Portland got him and flipped him. If I'm not mistaken, I think Portland got more for Drew Holiday than they did for Dame Lillard. I mean, they got DeAndre Ayton. Never mind. But DeAndre Ayton... I don't think he's I think he's overrated. Yeah. I think it's an illusion like, ooh, we got DeAndre Ayton. He's just going to be there. I think he's going to complement the young point guard very well. That's why they're not really going to trade him right away. They might trade him during the season, next season. We'll see what happens. Or maybe that's his new home. But they traded Drew Holiday. They got some nice picks and young players in return, I believe. And I like Drew Holiday going to the Celtics. Now, in my opinion, I was criticizing them for getting rid of Marcus Smart, which I'm still criticizing them for getting rid of Marcus Smart. But they made up for it for getting Drew Holiday. Now,
But imagine if Marcus Smart was still there with Drew Holiday. Yo, that
I'm
would be
saying,
tough.
I don't know why they went for Porzingis. Yes, a healthy Porzingis is amazing to have, but he's never healthy. So I don't know. We'll see. If the Celtics get lucky and Porzingis is healthy, everybody's healthy, but I just don't see them beating the Bucks.
Well, I hope that Drew Holiday, like obviously we're not Celtic fans, far from that. But I do like Drew Holiday because he just seems like a great player, a great guy. I know, like I read that he did a lot for the community in Milwaukee, him and his wife. And I really hope he will be successful in Boston, but I hope he solves the problem of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown meshing together. So I think that is the most important thing. If they can't solve that problem, then that team, one of them needs to go, Tatum or Brown.
It's gonna be Jaylen Brown for sure. He's gonna be the one to go.
But he just got that massive contract.
Doesn't matter. And there's gonna be plenty of teams that are gonna want his services. I'm telling you, plenty of teams.
And Porzingis is another guy. They're just adding to the problem where he's the ball in his hands. He's injury prone now, and they don't have like a good system where they really move the ball around. I think Tatum is a little overrated, honestly.
Well, like I said, the Boston seems like it's a mess. I think Drew Holiday brings that championship mindset, that veteran leadership, that defensive presence. We'll see what happens. Again, I just think Milwaukee's way too powerful. And besides Milwaukee and Boston, I just don't see anybody else. Like we're both huge Knicks fans, but even the Knicks, I don't see them going to the finals with the team they have. They played very well. They got some help. I think they got some upgrades. I'm excited to watch them. And maybe they'll pull some upsets, but I don't think they're going to beat Milwaukee, man. Dame Lillard and Giannis? No way.
Man, no way. I think that, well, first of all, Celtics traded Robert Williams, who was a really good, like a defense center. He didn't play that much in the playoffs. I think maybe averaged like 20 minutes a game. But, they don't really have anyone to replace him. I think KP is going to be the center there, but again, that's a big question mark. I think the team we're not talking about that might have actually won this trade, not counting Milwaukee, is the Suns.
Yes, Phoenix, go ahead.
They got the role players they need to provide what they were missing. Defense, they got not Valanciunas, but Nurkic, right? That's his name from Portland.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's better than Aiden. Like you said, I think to me Aiden is like another Draymond, not Draymond, but Andre Drummond in a way, where he'll put up numbers. Maybe he's good at like rebounding, but he doesn't give that like presence on the team, that production value. And they got Nazir Little, still a young player, great replacement for Bridges, who this guy could focus on defense. They got another couple of pieces. They also have a point guard problem, though. I don't know how Bradley Beal's going to mesh with Booker and KD. I think that is a problem, and I don't think because of that they'll win. But Phoenix has a better chance, at least.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Phoenix upgrades are amazing, but are they going to get past the LeBron James revamped Lakers? They also turned it around last season, the Lakers, right?
Who they get?
Well, they got D'Angelo Russell, if you remember.
Well, oh yeah, but Yeah, now he's gonna be there the full season.
Right, but they also have Austin Reeves. They have what's his name? Obviously, the Brow. What's
AD.
Anthony Davis. They have some good pieces. I think.
Well, they always had Anthony Davis though.
Right. I'm just mentioning. So they they started out really poorly. They revamped their roster. Then they had an amazing run. Let's see what happens. But I don't think Phoenix could even beat that Laker team, especially if LeBron's healthy, AD's healthy. But again, we keep talking about Lakers and Phoenix and the Warriors. I am not going to even put on that threat list. You got CP3. I'm so scared. No disrespect to CP3, but CP3 is not the player he once was, and he's getting older and he's getting injury prone. And I'm sorry, but
I think he might start.
Denver Nuggets. It's going to be the Denver Nuggets. They're going to the finals in the West. Yeah. So what do you think? Who do you think the two teams are going to be in the finals?
Definitely the Bucks. No one's beating the Bucks in the East. Not even the Celtics. That'll be an interesting match. I think the Celtics will beat them. I mean, I'm sorry, the Bucks will beat the Celtics, so they're going to the finals. And in the West, I would say it will be Denver Nuggets.
Now, I was watching a video recently. I think you saw it too, actually. We saw it together about Al Harrington, former Knick, talking about why he doesn't like Mike D'Antoni. For a while, I had to me, Mike D'Antoni was kind of a fan favorite. I liked the run he had in Phoenix with Steve Nash and Amari, and I always felt like they were so close. They could have, went all the way. But Al Harrington, said something that everybody was speculating. He was saying that defense was never even in the plan, apparently. And Steve Kerr, I remember when he was president of Phoenix, even criticized Mike D'Antoni for not being defensive minded. And I remember when he was on the Knicks, they had to get Mike Woodson as a defensive specialist, an assistant coach. So it's got to be true, right? And you see how important it is. People want to focus on just one thing, but you need a balance of both. Fine, you can emphasize one thing a little more than the other, but you need that balance. And it's a shame Mike D'Antoni is never going to win a chip, but how can he? How can he without defense? And maybe he's too stubborn to say, you know what, I do need the help. Bring in an amazing assistant coach that's defensive minded, and we got to implement a lot of defense into this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you could be so stubborn. Like, obviously, you have a great team, but when he had Melo, right, or no?
Who, Amari?
D'Antoni.
Yeah, he did, and he couldn't get. That's why he
And
resigned. He couldn't play with Melo.
yeah, and Melo he was definitely not winning with Melo. That was not a good combination. So, like,
That's ironic because Melo is such an offensive talent.
yeah, but Melo's
That's all he cares about. But he couldn't play under Mike D'Antoni.
But Melo's more of a hold the ball ISO. That's why he did really well under Woodson.
Yeah,
Woodson's like that. He did that with Joe Johnson in Atlanta. But with like D'Antoni would be a good assistant coach. But obviously Steve Kerr was like Mike D'Antoni, what Mike D'Antoni should have and could have been. But Al Harrington's Knicks, that team was trash anyway.
yeah.
They brought in Jerry Jeffries. Played this guy was trash. Defense, that was the worst team. But a similar story was when Joakim Noah was on a podcast talking about how crazy what's his name is
Phil Jackson?
No, not Phil Jackson. Thibodeau.
Oh, okay.
When
they
they were in Chicago, yeah, where he was like Kyle Korver was like they were getting so burnt out in practice that they would walk in like they wouldn't even get in a minute earlier to play, and like if they were up by like 14 or 20, but then they would only win by 14, he would like yell at them in the locker room, and it was kind of like like being in the army almost type of thing. And I think he's one of those coaches that are still active in the NBA, like one of those old school coaches that still is like the hardcore play defense or you're gonna sit, you know. So it's pretty amazing. And supposedly Embiid doesn't want to play with
Thibodeau.
Thibodeau because he knows he's gonna run them down. And that's why I don't want Embiid on the Knicks either.
So, it's interesting because I was going to ask you what an Embiid trade would look like for us, but you know what? You're right. If Embiid is afraid of that, then I don't want him on the Knicks. Look, I'm skeptical of Thibodeau. There's times where I just didn't even want him on the Knicks. I didn't like one of the things I didn't like is that Jalen Brunson played the whole game. But Jalen Brunson must have agreed to it, so I guess it's fine. But the thing with Tom Thibodeau is when he came in, he turned the New York franchise around. He put them number 4 in the playoffs. Nobody saw it coming. He made them relevant. The season after we didn't do as well. Fine. But then again, the Thibodeau's third season back in the playoffs, going into the second round. So we haven't really had a coach since Mike Woodson that took us to the playoffs, right? Jeff Hornacek, Derek Fisher, these guys.
No, we went to the playoffs with Hornacek, no? One time.
I don't think so.
You gotta look it up.
I don't remember, but I don't think so. So
Oh yeah, it was only with Woodson, I believe.
who was the coach after Woodson? Yeah, I remember after Woodson, it was Derek Fisher.
Fizdale. We had Fizdale. We never.
Oh, right. It was David Fizdale also. So David Fizdale didn't take us anywhere, and then we had Kurt Rambis at one point.
For a short period, not even for a season though.
Right, but whatever. So we had a long list of coaches that didn't do anything for us, and now we have a coach that made the Knicks arguably
relevant,
not as much talent, especially the top Thibodeau's first year. We didn't have Jalen Brunson. We had a really young R.J. Barrett. Okay, so I think Fizdale came after the Phil Jackson era, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, he didn't do anything for us. But that's why I believe in Tom Thibodeau. And you know what? I was going to ask you what an Embiid trade looks like, but there's no point in talking about it, right? I don't want Embiid on the Knicks. He doesn't want to be on the Knicks. And let's just leave it at that.
Well, now that Giannis is definitely not going to be available for a trade, what is the state of the Knicks? Do they trade Randall and just like build up? Because Randall's kind of in that like almost veteran stage, and I feel like he's not really good in the playoffs anymore. Like he's there's 2 times where he played and he just started to burn out, and not because of Thibodeau, but just because of his playing style. And we have this Brunson, I would still say, is an up and coming point guard. I mean, he did super well last year.
This is his 6th season.
Yeah, but he's one of those players.
No, I know. I agree with you. He's
time,
still very young.
Where do you think the Knicks are going? Like I feel like we're in this like no man's land now again.
No, not necessarily. I think we put some nice pieces like DiVincenzo. Because I think we got Josh Hart in the middle of the season. No.
Yeah,
we got him in the middle of the season. So now we're gonna full season DiVincenzo. We have some nice pieces, and yeah, we lost Obi Toppin. But I don't think Obi Toppin's gonna make or break. His absence, I don't think is gonna make or break us. And with Julius Randle, you're right. I think we have to figure out the Julius Randle question. And I'm looking at a star in Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be the guy that they're going to go after. And
really?
I think he wants to be in New York. Okay. And you never know, though, with Embiid. I think that he might lighten up, especially if we do get Donovan Mitchell.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, he doesn't have a choice because he's under contract. If Philly wants going to trade him, they're going to trade him. And Donovan Mitchell just didn't improve. Like, you saw him play. His body language was off. Like, I don't believe in him.
Well, listen, not to sound like a delusional Knick fan,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of low key happy that Giannis is not going anywhere. I'm low key happy that Embiid doesn't want to be on the Knicks. I'm low key happy that Donovan Mitchell is stuck in Cleveland. Why? Because I'm always scared that RJ Barrett's going to be the piece that leaves. And I don't know, man. This is his 5th season. I just have this feeling. I really hope he blossoms into that star. As of now, he's my favorite player in that draft. I know people left comments and said, "Oh, what about Darius Garland? What about other players?" But if we're gonna look at top 3, Zion Williamson and John Morant, not impressed with these guys. Not impressed. John Morant, obviously, I'm not impressed for different reasons.
Yeah.
But RJ's the only solid in the top 3. So
Now, John Moran has Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose on his team, and hopefully they will,
well, that's not the problem though. That's not the issue.
it's his character.
Yeah,
Of course.
and listen, if he had his head on his shoulders, okay,
They could have
they could have been in the conversation to be the favorites to go to the finals in the West. Okay,
Well, didn't the Lakers crush them?
okay, I understand that, but I think it has a lot to do with work ethic and mentality. And John Morant's I don't know, like where his head's at, but that has an effect on the team and on him and how they perform together.
That's true.
And they're still young though, right? Every year, I remember when Kevin Durant was in OKC, they were very young. They had James Harden still. They had Westbrook. They were babies. And they were number 8 in the West versus number 1's Lakers, Kobe Bryant's Lakers at number 1. They took it to 7 games, and Kobe beat them. But the point is, and then I think they just kept progressively getting better. That's what happens. So if his head was, if he had the right head on his shoulders, and the team didn't suffer from his antics, and they actually took it more seriously, who knows? Fine, they got crushed by the Lakers, but they were in the second round, right? Who knows what would have happened this year? Maybe they'd go that extra step to the third. You never know.
Because John Morant was suspended, right, that season for a few games.
Yeah.
And when he came back, you're right, the chemistry was off. I think they even said it, like they didn't vibe well.
And what's crazy is that Memphis even played well without John Morant.
Yeah, twice.
Right. So don't be surprised if John Morant's going to get traded. You never know. There might be teams that are going to want his services and they'll pay up. Because Memphis doesn't really need him. They play well without him. And if they get some valuable assets after, they can always look for that next superstar.
Yeah, but I think long term, he's definitely a difference maker. He just has to, I think he has to like change his playing style a little bit because he plays too much, like too recklessly sometimes, where he's trying to like dunk over people and then he could really hurt himself like that. But so if he kind of adjusts his playing style, and I think with Derrick Rose being on that team and Marcus Smart, he has a really good chance to do so.
Well, let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, I really like, for all the Knicks fans out there, I really hope that RJ Barrett, this is year 5. We've been saying this year after year. I hope RJ takes the next step and becomes that dominant player. And you never know. You never know what could happen. But I'm excited for the season. And I think we don't have high expectations in this form of like, oh, we're gonna go to the finals. Like we know we're probably not. We know that. Crazier things have happened. But I think Knicks fans everywhere have more normalized expectations now. But they won't. I think we're all more excited to see the progression of RJ and the rest of the guys, and we're just waiting for that next superstar to come.
Yeah, and if RJ doesn't become a star this season, then I'm giving up on him for being a star. You know, I don't mind him on the Knicks as a solid player, but he's a little expensive for for just being a solid player. I then after this fifth season, if he's still like whatever, then maybe I'd be like open to trading him for somebody who could help us instantly, you know. And we'll see what happens with that. Other than that, yeah. Until next time.